We have the wonderful topic of critical infrastructure and securing critical infrastructure. So super excited about that. It's a growing topic of importance for all of us. You know, we all want to make sure that food and water and energy and communications are all secure. And those are all things, including banking and things like that, that are part of the critical infrastructure.
And what sort of innovation right now are you seeing when it comes to this space specifically?
Yeah, I think before we can really get into the topic of innovation, we have to understand where we are.
Yeah.
So where we are is it's a physical to digital world. So in the critical infrastructure, especially when we talk about food security, like what we have at Unilever, we talk about physical products that have to get from a production area. First of all, the ingredients from the farms, they get to the production area and then they get out to the consumers themselves, right? And what's interesting about that is we're not digitally native in critical infrastructure. We start in the physical world. So we have a lot of legacy technology. We have a lot of operating systems that are hard-coded to old versions, right? And so before we can really talk about the innovation, we have to understand the fact that we have a lot of legacy to make up for all along the way. So when we then think about what are the areas in which we can innovate? We're coming from a landscape of a lot of efficiency driving of where people work, of how they work on a manufacturing plant line, for example. And so the innovation is tied to the work that our employees do as well. So we need to be able to help them do their jobs more efficiently, which is the supply chain side of the house. And then on the security side of the house, we need to make sure that they're being protected, that those lines are safe when they're being operated, that the data is moving security across that. And interestingly enough, we need to be able to see the attackers. We need to be able to see the threats in the world that is more often than not separated from IT. It's very specific to operational technology, OT.
And outside of technology, how do you see the role of CISOs changing?
Oh, hugely. Hugely. First of all, I mean, cybersecurity is an enterprise-wide risk now. I think we've moved, across the years, we've moved from being kind of IT security specialists into, wait, how do we talk about resilience as an organization or as a mission? How do we talk about the resilience of our operations? How do we talk about the ways in which threat actors can then interrupt our value chain or interrupt the technology, the data, the systems, the processes, the engagements that we have with shareholders, with customers, with consumers. So the role of the CISO has fundamentally changed. We have to be able to speak about risk in a way that the organization and the business leaders understand it. So likewise, while we're helping the organization think more cyber, think more resilience-minded against cyber attacks, the business is also needing to be thinking more cyber and resilience against attacks that are everywhere all the time.
And you know, here at the Innovation Summit, what are some of the biggest trends, key topics have you been discussing?
Wow, a lot of trends. I mean, first of all, on the threat side, we see third parties and the third party risk increasing and increasing. That can be on a software supply chain, but it can also be in the value chain. So our ingredient suppliers, people that do logistics and distribution and things like that. So third party is a huge risk. I wouldn't say that's innovative. I just think that's table stakes. It's growing in importance. The other thing we're seeing is a lot of innovation around how do we push security further and further to the edge of where our employees work, where our consumers are, where our customers are, and how do we enable a more rich conversation around resilience again of operations. I hate to hammer on that, but it's so true. We have to do that. So we're seeing a lot of innovation in threat detection in traditional physical environments. We're seeing a lot of innovation in using things like digital twins of a manufacturing footprint or of a think like an oil platform or a site where they're doing energy distribution. We can use digital twins in this space to test out patching, to explode different types of attacks that might be there, whether it's ransomware or malware, in more safe of environments, and then really understand what the implications will be from a digital to physical and then a physical back to the digital.
A lot of key takeaways there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.